Harris. This is the Limitless channel, and you're also joined with Jason Laufenberg of the Awake Souls YouTube channel. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, brother?
I'm pretty good. It's cold. It's cold here. Not liking the cold, but you know, maybe if I put on some Hawaiian type clothes or something, maybe we could manifest back up into the 80s.
Yeah, it's not cold like up north cold, but it's cold like we got used to 100 degrees during the summer, and it's nowhere near that anymore. So that becomes cold.
Well, if you worked outside in the sun here in Texas last summer, definitely in the Austin area, you basically got just smashed every day with between 100 and 105 degree heat, right? Sun all day long. So what it does is it sort of like just bathes you, and I think it thins out your blood. So when the cold comes, it's that, and maybe because I've lost weight, but you know, I used to be able to, you know, live outside in the wintertime like minus 30-degree Fahrenheit weather. I think I might die if I was subjected to that right now. 50 is way too cold for me, you know?
It does become to feel sort of cold.
So, I know it puts you in a mood. You're not, I think when we get our sun, when we make sure that we spend time in the sun, like, we have a different attitude, a different approach to the truth, a different approach to the streams, even our character that we carry, just the sun warmth, it totally rejuvenates us. So, I'm hoping tonight we can share some laughs. There's some pretty funny crap that goes on between our, if you're diet woke, you might think Trump is for the good of the people. The truth is both sides of the government are absolutely working against freedom, right? Why don't you say a few things, Jay? I'm just rambling on here.
Yeah, let's see. I've been working on graphics. We're trying to update our graphics for 2021 and make it new and fresh and up to quality and all that kind of stuff. So that's mostly what I did today. I know that you were paying attention to the headlines more. We were both really hoping to have some sort of like definitive type thing come out of December 14th because we had so many things going on. There was the solar eclipse, which we got a chance to watch here online. That was huge, monumental. We've seen in one of those in person the Great American Eclipse that came across the United States in 2017. We're really looking forward to the one in 2024. So that was going on. We were waiting to hear about the Electoral College, December 14th, all that kind of stuff. And there was more stuff. Like, what else lined up on today, right?
But yeah, there was that, the Electoral College, the eclipse. I believe it's the Hanukkah celebration. There's something going on with that. You know, as well as some of the other content that we're going to get into. Just showing the absolute buffoonery of how they did this fake election. Just a little bit of stuff coming out of Wisconsin we're going to go through in a bit. As well as, there's a conspiracy theory going around that, where was it, in Maine? So there was these loud booms. I can't remember. We might have saw it on the Jason A YouTube channel. And get a sound check from the chat, please. There was these loud booms. We watched it. I'm pretty sure he was covering it. And all the people were like, yeah, it sort of sounded like they were dropping bombs from planes. And they were just boom, boom, boom. And now what's coming out is that the Canadians actually facilitated 50,000 Chinese troops. And they were drilling holes underground from the Canadian side of the continent into the United States, and they had a 50,000 men bunker that apparently the United States blew up, and they were saying that it was an earthquake that happened, right? What do you know about that, Jay?
I don't know about that, other than that I've got a huge amount of skepticism when it comes to the things that I'm told that the military is doing. We've gone through it a bunch. We'll probably see some more of it tonight. That they call it theater of war for a reason, because it's literally theater. I mean, maybe they're going to do something for real sometime, but I just haven't seen it yet. Like, we'll see.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much. I don't know what everyone in the chat saw. Supposedly, they're saying that, I think Biden has the electoral votes, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything definitive on that angle as well. As well as everything being shut down for the whole, like, they cheated or whatever. I'm sure we're going to get into the language. Hey, what's up, Anthony? Hey, what's up, Seth? What's up, D-Truth, Yahweh's daughter? Thank you, everybody, for showing up tonight. Does anyone have anything that they saw besides the eclipse? An update on Saturn and Jupiter. They are moving closer together. It's going to be incredible, like, I guess, over this 25th. I don't celebrate it as the creator's, as Yahushua, the son of the creator's birthday. That's not what I do. But I think it's going to be cool that we're going to have this alignment in the sky. I'm looking forward to that. Jay, what's your comments on the alignment, the great alignment?
Well, people that have been following along know that I've been talking about this calendar thing for a little bit. And I just want to point out today is a key marker because of the solar eclipse. We know that today is a no moon day. So I want to do a little bit of semantics here and talk about, define terms. Today would be no moon. There was no moon seen. Tomorrow, all the charts, everything says there's going to be a new moon. All right, so it goes from there being no moon to new moon, and that's the first day of the month. So, based on the fact that the sun is in Sagittarius this month, we know that this is the 9th month. So tomorrow will be the first day of the 9th month. And then if you go 10 days from there, so that you get to the 11th day, you'll be at December 25th. So just one of the things that we've been pointing out, that the Enochian calendar 9/11 falls on December 25th in the year 2020. So I think it's significant. We just keep shouting it out, and we're going to see what we're going to see. But like you were saying, the Great Conjunction actually comes before then. So we've been watching the movements of Saturn and Jupiter back and forth in the sky. Hopefully everybody's looking up and watching this. These are the two most remarkable of the luminaries that we see in the sky. If you have a P900 or a P1000, you can actually zoom in to the point where you can see the ring around Saturn, and you can see the moons of Jupiter.
Well,
and yet we know how far that the camera can see. So this is another one of our, simulation proofs that we go to. What do you want to add, brother?
well, just that, when we zoom in on what we see in the sky, it appears that there's like some kind of a circular ring around Saturn, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not quite like we can see a ring right around it. We only get like a 2D perspective of the luminary. And then with Jupiter, we see little lights accompanying it, circling around it as it moves through the sky. We don't know that they're Earth-like moons, right?
No.
We can suppose that they are. I just wanted to be really clean with my words, and I know you do as well. Not like I'm trying to one-up you in any way. I just wanted to lay it down that the luminaries are like lights in the sky that we see. And it's really fascinating, that we're having the conjunction. It's been, you said, how many years?
784 is what I saw in an article.
784. So that's quite a long time since we've seen this last sign. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I wonder how many people really understand what the whole diet woke narrative is. It's like, I wanted to take a little time tonight to go into that topic. So Jason, if I was to say to you, man, I found these people on Facebook, they're so diet woke. I don't know what to do. What would you think I was referring to them as?
All right. So I come into this in a sort of a cynical way, where the term woke in and of itself to me defines a person that is on a diet, because because the true truthers, like the woke term was introduced as one of those MK Ultra psyop terms. It was people like Woke Town that was, it was woke, I'm woke, he's woke. But everybody that I was seeing and hearing say that they were woke were people that weren't, maybe they were on the path, maybe they knew about 9/11, maybe they knew about, these other hoaxes and stuff like that. Maybe they knew something about the shape of the earth, but still believe that the earth has one celestial polar point or something like that. So the people that are talking about being woke, in my opinion, are maybe on the path, but not even there yet. So they're not woke. It's so light is that reference where it's like not all the way there. It's sort of short of something, not coming in all the way. And so a combination of diet woke to me is a person that is a baby truther, and hopefully wants to learn and become more of a truther, but really isn't much of one yet.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair analysis of what diet woke would be. Now, there's other instances where we apply the term diet woke as more of a pejorative, as more of a slander or a slight, because there are people that call themselves truthers, yet they'll still totally support the false paradigm that like one side of the government is actually good and fighting for your rights and freedoms, while the other side is like this evil tyrannical system trying to kill the other side. So that would be someone who I would term as someone who is diet woke, because they don't realize that the false dialectic, the two sides were put up to divide, right? To keep you completely underneath them, right?
Light versus dark without realizing that they're just both dark, right?
Yes, completely. And so again, there's other types of times when we can use the diet woke, just people that, you know, are starting, like you had said, to follow some sort of truth. It's unfortunate that the QAnon, so they've got guys like Alex Jones, QAnon, and so many other spin-offs that all use this tactic. So what they do is they gatekeep people. So they'll like be at a certain level of truth, and then that's it. They don't let you go past that. They ridicule and mock anything outside of that paradigm. So what we have is basically key players in the truth movement and throughout the internet on different social media sites and platforms. And what they do is they create people who are diet woke. They feed their ego and their narcissism and whatever that person is seeking. They give it to them, and then they put this shackle on the mind, right? So, you know, I really wanted to start off by just saying that not everyone that's diet woke doesn't have a chance to making it to becoming awake, right? We're here to awaken your souls and to show you that you have limitless potentiality. That's what our job is, has been since day one. So yeah, I don't know if there's any more questions from the chat. We do got some links to go through. Jason, did you want to add anything else while on camera?
Yeah, not much. Not really. Just, I know you're the one that sort of prepped for today, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you got, and I'll chime in where I can, and it's nice to see everybody in the chat. If you got some questions, I'll keep my eye on the chat, and we'll see what we can answer tonight.
Yeah, it sounds good. There's not too much going on, but should still be interesting, I think, to say the least. And we should be screen sharing now. Let me just get a couple more things finished here. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We absolutely love you.
Yeah, Furious Cabbage says that he knows that Jesus, he probably means Yahushua, wasn't born on December 25th. It's symbolic. Yeah, it's symbolic of Mithra's birthday and a whole bunch of other pagan connections. This is having grown up Jehovah's Witness. I learned from infancy. I was taught that based on the Bible, you know, a December 25th birthday is just completely unreasonable with the way the shepherds were in the field because of the time of the year.
That's correct.
We don't know his exact birthday, but it definitely wasn't at after the winter solstice, which would be on December 21st.
Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting to start off here with a tweet. I don't do enough time on Twitter. I could also do, if people in the comments are interested, I could do I do a lot of meme work on Facebook. If anyone ever wants to go through the memes and have some laughs, put a comment below. Let me know. If there's interest in it, I'll do it. If there's not, I won't. It says here, this Connie Kittleman tweeted, despite the virus, U.S. deaths this year are literally no worse than they've been for the last 10 years and may even be on track to go down, have less deaths. So as you can see here, 2010, 2.5, 2018, 2.8, 2019, 2.9 million, and then 2020, 2.5 million as of November. So it's just interesting that all they've really done is taken the regular death rate and they've said that, oh, that's the C virus, right? That's what they've done. We've said it right from the beginning. Someone was saying that the Yahushua thing, they don't realize we've got the evidence and the research that back up the true name of the creator we use. It's Yahushua. It was a completely unambiguous language. It only had the sound after all the characters. So you can eliminate all the fake and nonsense names. And it's also the language that the angels spoke, right? And right up until the Tower of Babel as well. But Jason has links, and how many videos do you have up? And that's one of them, right?
Yeah, so 99% of the videos are down, but I did leave the true name of the creator one up, and the creator and the Christ, and just a couple other like raw footage that I filmed type thing.
Yeah. Sunrise, right?
Yep.
So, okay, now that we've spoke about that once, we might do it 5, 10 more times tonight. I think we can maybe look into this first before we get into the links that I have to see this. So this is the story that's going around. Hal Turner said 50,000 Chinese soldiers were bombed and killed in Maine, which was listed as an earthquake. And so you come down here, and you see what they've got. Steve Quayle, he's the super Mason radio host yesterday, that an F-16 was shot down as well by the Chinese, and a 30,000-pound bunker bomb buster was dropped on a bunker in Robbinston, Maine, killing 50,000 Chinese troops. So, and they're also saying that the troops were smuggled in through Canada, right? I do want to say that no, I don't believe that there was 50,000 troops murdered in Maine, Chinese as well. Be interesting to see if there's some evidence that come out to support that, but as far as I've seen so far, it's still just some kind of propaganda psyop that they're spinning. Jason, are you in the chat?
Yeah, I'm just working in the chat quick.
I don't see you doing much. Just kidding, bro. Okay, let's get on to some of these links. So this is out of Wisconsin. I just wanted to share with everybody because I constantly say that the government's just nothing but a bunch of buffoons. And this year here, this election that we just went through, happens to be some of the best evidence that we've ever had as to just how kangaroo court the system really has become. The fact that you really don't have a vote, you don't have a voice, you haven't. It's been a selection process for a long time, not an election process. And, I just want to go through this and have some laughs tonight. There's not many links. We didn't go live for a while, so I figured we'd jump on. So I don't condone everything that Ryan says from the ANC report, because he's a ball earther. He thinks because it's dark in Japan and it's light in North America, he thinks that's boom, ball earth proof, right? That's his level of intelligence. But he did post this. This is from Wisconsin. So I have a little bit of an affinity towards Wisconsin. I like the Packers. Jason's from Wisconsin. So I thought, out of all the different places, because this has happened in Georgia, this has happened in Arizona, they've had these same people come out and talk about all the things that went wrong and all the things that happened. I thought this one was the best to highlight, just because of the content and what they tried to pull. Jason, do you have any comments before I go ahead?
No, I was just in the chat.
Okay, let's get into this. This should be good.
Homes across the state. The law is so disregarded and the rules put in place are so lax that even the dead are now being allowed to vote. Ethel, whose name was also...
That's the first thing that pops up here. Dead people are legally allowed to vote now.
...changed because her family fears retribution for coming forward, was one of them. She was 95 years old. She passed away in her nursing home in October after a long battle with dementia brought on by a stroke. Her daughter, Janet, contacted me after discovering that not only did Ethel vote absentee from that nursing home, but she's been voting absentee for years, even though she has not been mentally competent enough to since at least 2012. In fact, as her mental state deteriorated, her voting became more regular. How could this be? Janet has filed a police report with her local law enforcement agency, and under penalty of obstruction of justice, in a sworn statement says, quote, "Mom could sometimes not recognize me, remember what her last meal was, or even what day it was, yet she voted." And even though Janet died in October, even though it is illegal for a deceased person's vote to count in this state, Ethel's vote was counted. Janet immediately went to her mother's care facility. She told police from her sworn statement, quote, "I inquired who had requested a ballot for her and had access to her to assist in filling out the ballot, as I have not been able to visit her personally for months. They never gave me an answer on how she received a ballot." The answer lies, sadly, in the unconscionable manner in which the Wisconsin Elections Commission, the very board that this state trusts to fairly and impartially administer elections, ignored the clear letter of state law and made vote fraud like this less a possibility than an inevitability. Time and time again, using COVID-19 as an excuse this year, the WEC simply replaced the law with its own disastrous guidelines. Wisconsin Statute 6.875 governs absentee voting in nursing homes and assisted living facilities and expressly prohibits staff members from assisting residents in filling out their ballots.
So yeah, that's one thing that went on, right? So I'll skip ahead here. So slow. Yeah, BitChute, like, wow. Their servers suck so bad. You can't even, like, see what they do, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't go to YouTube, you don't get the speed. So you can't really, like, I don't even know if this is even going to come back on now. It's ridiculous. I can fix it, but just ridiculous, right?
19, the McIver Institute
I heard you complaining about BitChute today.
Yeah, well, you know, just to work with it, it's just not pleasant. Maybe I'll speed this up. This guy is pretty funny.
Total of 72,000 indefinitely confined voters in this state. Right now, there are nearly 250,000. That's a 238% increase in less than a year. Of those new indefinitely confined voters, the Republican Party of Wisconsin determined that 31,000 in Milwaukee County and 15,000 in Dane County do not have a photo ID on file with their local clerk's office. That's an 854% increase in Milwaukee County and a 1,062% increase in Dane County.
It's just so ridiculous, man. Everything that this guy says, like, I don't know how this was able to pass, you know,
Absurd, patently unlawful that the Wisconsin Supreme Court took the unusual step of stepping in to issue guidance that the guidance that they had issued was wrong and unlawful, saying, quote, voters may be misled to exercise their right to vote in ways that are inconsistent with Wisconsin law. The damage, though, is already done. Immediately after McDonnell and Christensen issued this unlawful advice, the number of indefinitely confined voters ballooned from 72,000 to 200,000. An additional 49,000 voters claimed indefinite confinement ahead of the November election.
Here we go.
Tens of thousands of them weren't actually indefinitely confined. In fact, just the numbers I have been able to find include voters who claimed indefinite confinement but attended jazz concerts, parties, weddings, went to work, even traveled out of state. One woman I investigated claimed indefinite confinement, yet has as her profile picture the phrase, quote, I can't stay home, I'm a nurse. One woman claimed indefinite confinement, but posted pictures of her what seemed to be wonderful, well-attended wedding. Another posted a picture of herself and her boyfriend at Devil's Lake State Park. Another posted in early August about visiting Hobby Lobby and going to church with others. One man visited Vern's cabin in September. Another posted a picture of himself on a bike ride. A woman attended a party that same month. How do I know? I attended the same party. And
he was there.
I can tell you she was not and is not indefinitely confined.
So, you know, he had some funny points, like just all the law being broken, like I had said earlier. We've got evidence that, well, they've provided the evidence that it's just a big sham. It doesn't matter what the people want. Nobody in the country, I don't think they're, you know, the smallest percentage of people, like probably 1% of the people actually, you know, want more lockdowns, want communism, like everything that Biden was selling, right? The Green New Deal. There's such a small fraction of the population that'll even remotely listen to that. It's just nonsense. So I'm going to keep going.
It didn't, and even was held in contempt of court for failing to do so. The WEC ignored the clear letter and intent of state law in denying both Kanye West and the Green Party access to our state's ballot so that they would not take votes away from Joe Biden. The WEC looked the other way when the city of Madison held illegal ballot harvesting operations in 206 city parks and coordinated with the Biden campaign in promoting them. The WEC instructed municipal clerks across the state to ignore state law and illegally fill out mail-in witness addresses instead of returning the ballot envelopes to voters to correct as the law requires them. All of these decisions violated the clear letter and intent of state law, and obviously all were designed to influence the outcome of last month's election. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not here to change the results of that election or any election, but to challenge the systematic erosion of the rule of law. Without that, and without elections that exist within its framework, we have nothing. Not a state, not a country, and not even our most sacred individual right. The right to change our state, our country, and our lives.
Yeah, that's true. The right to change has been taken away. We don't need any of these nonsense people. The voting for things should be done through a cell phone, right?
Oh, the whole world's a joke. The fact that we have all these governments that siphon off money for their military that we see as being a psyop, for the space exploration that we know is a psyop, that, you know, what is it that government is doing for people? It's surely not helping them. It's just robbing them blind and giving them things that they don't need.
Yeah, creating, useless feeders. People that just want to consume. You're right. So, I like some of the things that guy was saying, that dead people were voting. They targeted the people in adult facilities, right? Where the people that worked there were probably paid to make sure that everybody voted for Biden. Now, these two lawyers that worked for Trump that were there to oversee the process in Wisconsin, this is pretty epic, some of the stuff that goes on here.
I have to tell you that it was embarrassing to see, I forget which day it was Tuesday or Wednesday, to see the juvenile stunt that was pulled by having wristbands when you pass through the medical clearance that had a poop emoji on it.
Get out of here.
Come on, Democrats. Are you kidding me? These guys were there to oversee the voting, and they made them put on a bracelet with a poop emoji on it. I'm going to play that again. He has to,
childish pranks.
Watch his face as he's getting set up for this one.
It was prevalent. There were counters. There were 2 counters at each station. There were 150 counting stations, each comprising long folding tables with plexiglass shields. Workers' counters would be processing 2 stacks of documents in parallel. That likewise made it very, very hard for observers standing or sitting at a distance to see what's happening in 2 different stacks. We would ask them to change that. Frequently they would, but we'd have to be reminding them of that. Documents, boxes, materials were kept on the floor. They were put behind tables where it was difficult, if not impossible, to see what was in them and what was being done with them. Again, transparency. I have to tell you that it was embarrassing to see, I forget which day it was Tuesday or Wednesday.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
To see the juvenile stunt that was pulled by having wristbands when you pass through the medical clearance that had a poop emoji on them.
I can't believe they did that to them. And they had to wear it all day. Listen.
It made Milwaukee and Wisconsin look juvenile. And I don't know who decided that, but it wasn't by accident. Every other day we had a red band, a blue band, and we've all been through this process. To have to wear that all day and to have people from, again, out of state and election officials, it's just not necessary. It is not necessary. There was discourteous and hostile language and attitudes from many of the counters, primarily directed toward the Trump observers, Trump attorneys, Trump personnel. People saying, I don't have to talk to you. You'd ask a question. I'm not going to tell you how many ballots or how many envelopes are in that stack. How hard is it to be nice to somebody? I mean, even if you don't like them. And why not provide that transparency? It was difficult. In one case, and this is something that I was told by another one of the Trump attorneys, they had to address a direct threat made by a counter toward one of the observers. And I'm not going to get into the details about that because I didn't see it, and I don't want it to be more than it is. But there was a hostility and there was a belligerence on the part of many of these counters that had no place in a ministerial function like the recount. And it's embarrassing when you have people from out of state and people who are executing important duties in something like a presidential election to stand there and act in a juvenile way when they have a duty to perform.
So they were acting like a bunch of babies, the Democrat people, being rude and hostile towards anyone that was supposed to oversee it. Like, if we lived in a free place where everything was on the up and up, this process would be effortless, right? You have a group of people, okay, you people, you count. You people, watch them count. Whenever you want to lean in and see what they're doing, do so, right? You don't have to impede them from counting. It just shows you how retarded this reality has become, right? And this is supposed to be the freest country in the world. The United States flag used to stand as a beacon of freedom, right?
I don't care who they back, and I don't care what the personality of the candidates is. There's a question, I think.
Are you done with your questions?
The only thing I would say is that I think a lot of us in this state are expecting all of you to act on this election to the full extent that you can, even if it fails, even if you aren't able to accomplish everything that you might be able to. We want you to act, and we certainly need to cure this problem for future elections as well.
So this guy was decent, right? And then we had this chick. Is this chick? Yeah, we got to listen to this.
Indicate that
Sorry, I got to start this over. This is freaking hilarious. So this guy puts that all out on the table. I cut out a lot of what he said just for time's sake. And this guy said what he wants. He's here for true and honesty, and like it's heartfelt. He's a lawyer. He's under oath. All this is crazy for him to be speaking out. These people are in other places I've heard having their lives threatened, maybe even killed, or family members of these people that are doing these jobs are being killed right now. And watch the response we get from the first person they allow to call in.
So we have a number of questions. We're going to first go to Representative Zamarripa.
Mr. Chair, I first want to indicate that the bulk of the Democrats, as you know, on this joint committee are attending virtually, and we continually have our mics muted on us. We aren't able to unmute at all. And I want the public to know that we're being cut out a lot of this stuff.
Like when you're in a Zoom hangout and there's other people talking, you need to be muted. Like this chick is just too much.
Dialogue. I am the ranking Democrat on this committee. I've had my hand raised since the first witness, who by the way was a radio DJ, but since the first expert witness who was a radio DJ, I've had my hand raised and haven't been allowed to ask questions. My question for this particular
She means I haven't been allowed to interrupt like I've wanted to.
witness, this is the third witness that has come before us. I want to know if they know that the Attorney General of the United States of America, who was appointed by President Donald Trump, has indicated that there was no evidence of voter fraud in the 2020 general elections. I'd like to also know if he's aware that the Homeland Security leadership, also appointed by President Donald Trump, also has indicated there was no evidence of voter fraud. This was a safe and fair election.
So this guy and the other guy that spoke before him, and there's going to be another guy after this, all laid down all the evidence that there was absolute corruption just in the way that they did the whole entire thing. The fact that the people weren't even allowed to observe the recount, right? And she's coming out saying the Surgeon General, who was hired by Trump, says that there was no fraud. That's what she's saying. It's just so retarded. It's such kangaroo nonsense.
Oh.
Jason?
No, it's bad. Like, I don't know how we've gotten to this point where here was the electoral day and this is the kind of stuff that we're hearing, yet nothing's been done. Yeah. It's insanity.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? The fact that they're putting it out there, they're telling everyone the truth, and then when they do what they do to you, they're going to say, well, it's your fault because we showed you what we were doing. We told you our plan, yet you did nothing, right?
And lastly, I want to know if the witness understands that Joe Biden won the election, including the great state of Wisconsin, in a fair election process, and that our clerks, our poll workers, our voters, they did their civic duty and in the very best way possible.
She never really asked a question. All she did basically was tell him that the Surgeon General was said that it was, that she just...
especially considering the COVID-19 pandemic that we are all operating under?
Thank you for your questions. Go ahead.
So I think there were three questions. Am I aware of the U.S. Attorney General's statements? I am, but just as the representative's colleague said, I assume his knowledge is second, third, fourth hand. So I'm not sure that he has direct knowledge that there's been no voter fraud, that he knows, or that he's not aware of any. But and perhaps the representative missed that part of my discussion. There may or may not be voter fraud. That's not necessary to affect the outcome of this election. There are votes in question that do not hinge on whether there was fraud. There are votes in question that hinge on whether the statutes that this body put forward, that Michael Haas, the head, the elections counsel at the GAB, and now I think a City of Madison attorney
At the Gab?
that he defined very clearly in his May 2018 memo that we all read, that these are statutes that have to be interpreted mandatorily. They are not subject to interpretation the way votes cast on election day at a polling place are. So I don't know about the Attorney General having firsthand knowledge, but I don't think fraud is the only reason we're all here and that the voters are upset. The second question I think was a similar question regarding the Homeland Security people. Again, whether they know about fraud or not, and whether they know about it in the state of Wisconsin, I don't think matters. If we find it, we find it. And even if there is no fraud, there is ample subject matter open to question under our statutes that needs to be resolved. And this body, the Wisconsin legislature, is the body invested solely with the authority under the U.S. Constitution to make those decisions.
They're not going to do anything, right? But he's bringing the attention there. Yeah, I think that was that. And then there's this guy. Let's get into this guy. This guy is it's got some interesting stories to tell. Let's listen to a bit of this.
Plausible. My impression was it's plausible, but how would I know? My radar really went up on the very first day of the recount process. Dan was stationed on behalf of the President Trump's team in Milwaukee. I was stationed on behalf of President Trump's team in Dane County. 30 minutes after the opening of the recount, I approached Clerk Scott McDonald and asked to be able to scan. Could he have access to the ballot applications, because Wisconsin law could not be more clear that one cannot cast a ballot without filing an application, except in the indefinitely confined circumstance, which wasn't the point of my question. My question was to ensure that every absentee ballot that was cast was also accompanied by a ballot application. Mr. McDonald at first said yes, but you can't touch the ballot. You can't touch any of that because those are election materials. Those can only be touched by election officials. I said, fine. We will be more than happy to lease or pay for the lease of high-tech color scanners so that we can scan the every last ballot application and ensure that there is a ballot application in existence for each of the absentee ballots that was cast. His initial reaction was, yes, we'll make arrangements. We went about it. It took about 2 hours for the Democrat opposing counsel to catch on and realize that that was going to be a problem. They objected. Mr. McDonald, unsurprisingly, voted with the Democrat member of the canvassing team and came to, I assure you, the ridiculous conclusion that the ballot application was not the piece of paper that says ballot application on it, that is created
he shook it
and
out there
disseminated
good.
by the Wisconsin Elections Commission. It was instead the envelope in which the ballot was returned. And from that point on, I had no confidence whatever that any election official was even remotely attempting to enforce Wisconsin's elections laws with any degree of integrity. My skepticism,
I lost that
which
when he
is
started
an
shaking the
occupational
666.
requirement.
Well, basically, he just said that, when he asked for what did he call it? The ballot registration card, where basically you ask, you ask for the absentee ballot, and then you get it, and then you fill it out, and then you mail those back together. And the other team, all they did was they gave him the envelope that the ballot was in after they voted. Right?
Turn to
Simple mistake.
Yeah, nothing major.
I will confess cynicism about the integrity of our election process. at that point in time, I've been involved in two different efforts. What you've heard about so far is basically what I refer to, and I don't mean dismissively, as onesies and twosies, individual instances of fraud or illegality. And instead, I wanted to look at statistical analysis. I wanted to look at large-scale data. I wanted to look at systemic issues. And so in two different lawsuits, I've been recruited as local counsel to do exactly that. I can tell you I haven't read exhaustively every last pleading or every last decision and every last election litigation across the country, but I am not aware at this point in time that any of these lawsuits, when Senator Miller talks about the courts resolving, the courts haven't resolved anything because they've been all resolved on motions to dismiss. On legal issues, they have never even taken up, held an evidentiary hearing, or even remotely assessed the credibility of the evidence which submitted. I somewhat cynically say that
that's the big point, in my opinion, that all these reveals of information right now, as far as this is what took place, this is what was witnessed, this is, they've put all that forth, they've presented it, and it's all been dismissed on procedural type stuff, nothing having to do with the information itself. And so they're really setting up for the truther this conflict where once they can see all the evidence and they can see the foul play, the evil control, it's a really a serious mental torture for a truther to be going through this right now. Right?
Yeah, I completely concur. Anyone that's aware, that's awake, not woke, awake, and can understand truth, like I guess every time you understand a new high level truth, it kind of like destroys your paradigm a little bit. You go through this process, and maybe people actually thought that the elections were real. Right now, it's just completely. You can clearly see that all this corruption took place, and yet not one of the people that are supposed to look at it looked at it. They said, "Well, you're here filing under this motion, and you really should have been filing a letter under this motion, so we have to deny it." Right? And they're like, "Just listen to what we have to say." So now they're being forced to do these teleconferences or whatever this is. It's in a courtroom. They're all sworn under oath. They keep repeating that. And again, this is how they do it. The people that rule this world, they tell you what they're doing. They put it out there. They make sure that you understand it. And then when they do it to you, they say, well, we showed you and you didn't do anything. I have to keep repeating myself because this is some of the best evidence of that I've seen. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the suits have all been dismissed on the grounds that you can't plead your case without evidence, and you can't get your evidence unless you plead your case. Goodbye. The courts are not set up. I've been involved in complex litigation many times over 30 years. The evidence and Dan and I were local counsel in the lawsuit recently filed and dismissed in the Eastern District of Wisconsin. I should mention that on behalf of the Sidney Powell team. Same story. That team did research, investigation, and pleading in 3 weeks that in complex litigation often takes 3 years. And yet the courts, understandably, are not equipped to deal with that kind of litigation in that kind of context. In the election context, this is unique. It's, as we call it, sui generis.
So I just want to make a point there that sui generis is quite the word. It basically means that in certain cases there are exceptions to any law or rule, that it has its own precedents that need to be set for, right? So the fact that an election is so important, supposedly, right? The sheeple think that the president runs the country and the world, that it should have a higher scrutiny of all of its laws applied to it, right? If this was a true and just reality. So,
well, and sui generis offers the one-offs that, yes, you may have a blanket thing apply to most things, but doesn't apply to everything. So
that's right.
It's a neat word. I plan on keeping that one in the quiver.
Well, yeah, you can also say that somebody is sui generis if they are a completely, so I believe I am, because there's absolutely no one else in the world like me in this realm. So that's my way of using that term. You can also apply it to a person or a thing if it has characteristics that are unlike anything else. So, but yeah, I just wanted to pause it and bring out that he brought up that word.
It's one of a kind. The courts are just not equipped to deal with reaching the merits of these kinds of claims. And I would also suggest that as I've listened to the testimony, I've listened to the questions from Democrat members, which I believe are sincere. I'm impressed by what struck me in the litigation over the last 6 weeks, is that I keep hearing sound bites. This committee should proceed on evidence, not sound bites. I hear the sound bite about conspiracy. I hear Senator Miller saying, would you take an oath? I assume Senator Miller would take an oath that he is absolutely sure, and he would state, as a matter of fact, which he just did, that the 2016 election was a victim of conspiracy by international sovereign actors. He is just as sure that the 2020 election was not.
So, boom. Yeah, and he has the debunk of it, right? I just want to slow that down and point it out to people that all the Democrats now, that for the last 3.5 years were saying that it was Russia, 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 right? They guaranteed that Russia interfered with the election and got Trump the win. Now they're saying that there's absolutely no interference. Biden just won on his own merit, right?
Exactly.
But all the people that are Republican said in 2016 that it was an absolutely fair election, and now they're all saying that there's corruption. So they've completely flipped the coin. Just like I said before, all these people do is come out here to distract and divide you. Well, they take up what's real. Well, they take your wealth. Well, they take your hard-earned hours that you put into your life. All of us are slaves. And I guess it's interesting to go through what these guys have to say, just to document that it looks like there's never been a fair election in this country. It's probably always been corrupt, right? I'd like to see some evidence of like when it was fair.
Yeah, great points.
And it's, again, it's not a surprise to me that the roles are now reversed. The individuals who have told us for 4 years that there was absolute proof of fraud by international actors are now telling us there can't possibly be such proof, that we had a completely clean, trustworthy election. The people who for 4 years said they saw no evidence of international influence are now saying, yeah, we do see it. I'm one of those individuals. Candidly, I was not aware of any evidence of international intrigue over the last 4 years because I didn't look for it. I was not interested. It wasn't the point. When I get retained to represent a client, I look at the evidence, I look at what's in front of me. I have to take a Rule 11 position that I've looked at this, and it is reasonably plausible to me. And so now I'm looking at it, and yes, I do think there is reasonable evidence to at least warrant a meaningful investigation, whether there were, in fact, interference by individuals involved with Dominion voting systems, ESS, Smartmatic, and so on.
All those drops.
Soundbites, that's the conspiracy soundbite is one thing we hear. Disenfranchisement is another that we hear. Are Republicans out to disenfranchise votes? And I say, as I've said to my Democratic colleagues, whom I respect, and I don't mean to be dismissive, but I'll say, yeah, we're going to disenfranchise people, but only the dead ones.
Oh, that was great. That was great. I don't know why the volume's down. I'm going to play that again. This guy had some zingers.
That's the conspiracy soundbite is one thing we hear. Disenfranchisement is another that we hear. Are Republicans out to disenfranchise votes? And I say, as I've said to my Democratic colleagues, whom I respect, and I don't mean to be dismissive, but I'll say, yeah, we're going to disenfranchise people, but only the dead ones.
He needs that thug life, like boom, boom, the glasses come down and a spliff in his mouth. So, again, the higher level of overstanding that we're witnessing right here, it's immense. And this guy sort of has a bit of he seems a little bit worried because, like I had said before, I don't know if they're threatening to kill these people because they really wanted to steal the election. We all know how much they hate Trump, and even though I don't even know if that's real either in this crazy stage of a reality we live in. But this guy does sound shaky. He has delivered some real bangers, right? So we've got the emoji poop symbol bracelets that they made them wear. They wouldn't let them actually observe what was happening. All the counts and everything. This guy asked for the proof that they had the evidence to obtain the ballot. They sent them the envelope that the ballots were delivered in, right? It's just so ridiculous.
We only want to eliminate the votes of people who cast them unlawfully. And the question before this committee and every individual in Wisconsin who has any degree of integrity simply wants to ensure, are we here going to disenfranchise the voters, the lawful voters, Democratic and Republican, who did obey the law by allowing the unlawful voters to have an influence which they should not have had? Another soundbite I hear is overturning the election. The question is, are we going to overturn the election now, or was the election already overturned before and after November 3rd by improper actors? So, with all respect to Mr. Knudsen, and I'm going legal, the fact is no one has ever reached the merits. Mr. Knudsen makes a statement of fact that there's no fraud in Wisconsin. The elections were conducted cleanly. He can't possibly know that. He's not an election engineer. He's not a data analyst. He's not a computer analyst. He's not a program system analyst. Neither am I. And I don't know. I will not accuse anybody on the Wisconsin Elections Commission of doing anything improper, or staff. I don't know. What I do know is that the evidence that we're putting in front of you, which was submitted in federal court, raises to me a reasonable degree of concern that warrants additional factual investigation that the courts simply are not equipped.
This is where I gotta go back a couple clicks. I gotta slow this down. This is probably the quote of the night. We gotta roll this again.
On the Wisconsin Elections Commission of doing anything improper, or staff. I don't know. What I do know is that the evidence that we're putting in front of you, which was submitted in federal court, raises to me a reasonable degree of concern that warrants additional factual investigation that the courts simply are not equipped to conduct. And so to that point, again, I said my interest has always been statistical analysis and systems analysis. It's not in the onesies and twosies, which I certainly respect. But Representative Knudsen was dead right when he said decentralization is critical. So is low tech. It is almost impossible to conduct fraud when you have a completely decentralized election process and you have a low tech process where every last individual shows up and fills out a paper ballot, and all of those are available literally for a hand recount. That's almost impossible to conduct. The higher tech that you get, the more susceptible that you are. And while everyone on the ground, let's say everyone on the ground that there was among election workers, among election deputies and so on, never once, ever did anything improper. That does, in one sense, that doesn't matter. You've all heard the expression attributed to Joseph Stalin. I don't think he ever said it. I think he said a variant, that it doesn't matter who casts the votes, it matters who counts the votes. And when the votes in these...
It doesn't matter who casts the votes. It matters who counts them. We give him a... He gets a bell. Jason?
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Right? Bang on again.
Systems that you will read about in the evidence that we put in front of you ultimately get aggregated up. It is that level where the concern happens. So in the time I have left, I'm just going to start buzzing through, and you'll see exhibit numbers at the bottom in order. I'd say, first of all, please note and I don't have it in front of me, but there's a Wisconsin Elections Commission data sheet in front of you, I think on the top of your stack, about the kinds of evidence, the kinds of material.
He made sure he threw that 666 up, right? He's talking to them in their language.
That should be retained in federal...
Even that sign, two hands like that, he's also doing another sign.
Elections, at least for 22 months.
It might even be that right there, like LL or 33 again, or like a noose, right?
Yeah, so the top level guys, they can roll these out, and they've got so many different hand signs. It's like sign language that they're speaking in to the people that signed up to their cult.
Yeah, exactly.
As you conduct your legislative audit, which is certainly what I would encourage you to do, please take special caution to make sure and demand that all of those election materials be produced. And by the way, of course, I think an election audit should be conducted in Milwaukee County, but I would invite Democrats, and I would say as on a personal note, one of my best friends from law school is Mark Thompson. We are ideologically, politically, philosophically, every way polar opposite, but we're great friends. We respect each other. We've even litigated civil rights cases together. And I truly believe that the vast majority of Wisconsinites on both sides of the issue are people of goodwill. We can't go on with this level of suspicion. And the only way to avoid the level of suspicion is to actually do what it takes to be necessary to conduct the technical systems investigation to ensure that this kind of interference could not possibly have happened, or if it did, will never happen again. So now,
Can I just interject one thing?
yes.
I just want to interject before he starts this evidence that the legislature created the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and I have experience on commissions in the state of Wisconsin that they have quite a bit of autonomy. The WEC is in charge of assuring that the election systems used in Wisconsin are accurate and fair and correct. This evidence that Mike will demonstrate, and it's in the national news, is highly disturbing because it suggests that at a level beyond the counting machines, votes can be manipulated to manipulate the outcome, and it can't be detected in a recount. We have introduced 19 exhibits into this federal case this past week, and you have 16 of these exhibits. And the issue is that the WEC should be required to examine this, and the legislature should examine these systems so that all Wisconsinites can sleep well knowing that these systems are.
So that's another huge thing that the Democrats and most people throw out there is, oh, they don't have any evidence, right? That's one of the MK Ultra. They've programmed that into everyone's mind that this is all just a big show. They don't have any evidence. They constantly, you'll hear that over and over again, right? That's what I've heard.
Legitimate, they're honest, and they work. And that's the duty that I think the legislature should enforce with respect to what the WEC is doing. It's their obligation to do it. And I think that has to be done through independent investigation rather than allowing them to investigate their own systems. So, Mike, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. So, Chairman, how many?
Yeah, 5 more minutes.
Okay. I will buzz through these as quickly as possible. First of all, the first Exhibit 15 that you have and Exhibit 16 are letters. You've heard all about the Venezuelan origins. Back in 2006, Congressman Maloney, a Democrat from the state of New York, raised exactly those concerns in Exhibit 15. As recently as December 6, 2019, and she was a Democratic Congresswoman, Democratic senators, and our own Democratic Mark Pocan from the city of Madison, in Exhibit 16, sent letters to a number of private equity funds, which are opaque, which are foreign-owned, which are invisible or can't be investigated or transparently, explored by anyone in the United States. And Senators Warren, Wyden, Klobuchar, and Representative Polk, Congressman, and by the way, I 100% agree with them. I am profoundly concerned that private hedge funds that have no transparency whatever, that are apparently foreign owned, own the three companies which provide over 90% of the voting machines in the
Wow. Do you guys want to hear that again? You want to
let's hear that one again.
This is unbelievable.
Sent letters to a number of invisible or can't be investigated or transparently explored by anyone in the United States. And Senators Warren, Wyden, Klobuchar, and Representative Polk, Congressman, and by the way, I 100% agree with them. I am profoundly concerned that private hedge funds that have no transparency whatever, that are apparently foreign owned, own the three companies which provide over 90% of the voting machines in the United States.
Wow. So 3 hedge funds that can't be investigated by any United States American are the company that made the 3 voting machines for the whole entire country. Like, when that piece of evidence gets put in front of you, the cognitive dissonance in your mind, if you think that there was no fraud or these systems were all good, you're now confronted with a wall.
Yeah. What do you gotta do to mentally contort to be acceptable with something like that?
Like
it's just a joke that we have. This is supposed to be some sort of great nation. And
China, Russia, and Iran own the voting machines, basically, right? Or Venezuela. Sorry, not Iran. Like China, Israel, and Venezuela. Oh, sorry, I said the word I couldn't say, right?
Yep.
You'll hear, I'm going to blow through these. We'll follow up with more detail, but you'll see this phrase, COTS, C-O-T-S. It's an acronym. Commercial over software. I'm sorry. I'm sleep deprived. It's been a long 10 weeks. But basically, they are buying these systems in an effort to make them available or manageable to local officials on the ground. Are run by off-the-shelf software produced by Microsoft or others by companies which are manufactured in China.
Did you just hear that? I hope everyone in the chat heard that. So I'm going to break it down to you on the real. Okay. I'm just thankful that 34 of you, just went up to 36. I'm thankful that you're here to hear this. What happened was, if you look at the United States of America's government, right, you're going to see there's one type of person that's strewn throughout the government that have dual citizenship, right? There are some from Canada, but you're going to see a high majority of those people are actually dual citizens of Israel and the United States. And so for the last, I don't know how many years, at least 5 years, people investigating ONE started to find the paper trails back to the promised land, right? So we've got this group of people that are hating the fact that the Americans are now waking up to everything that they're doing. Oh, they pull this card, they pull that card. So what they've done now, they're pretty smart. They gave China a huge port in Israel, and they've been working with Israel. They actually, I can't remember the exact number, but remember, Jason, we watched the video. They showed that a certain amount of actual Israelis were actually the people behind the Communist Party in China already a long time ago. So now what they do is everything that they're doing, they're plotting against the United States of America. Instead of the Ashkenazi crew doing it, they're having it done through China, right? Which is just basically a communistic place where they're just farming. They're farming their data and their knowledge through. So basically what he said was that the software that the machines, not only that the machines are made by hedge fund companies that can't be tracked or traced in the United States, there are 3 other places in the world, but the software that actually runs those machines was created by Chinese programmers, right? Like, how crazy is this? Like,
Yeah, so China's a proxy of the you-know-who, right? They're doing it through China. They already own and control them. They pull the strings. And so via proxy, we get to keep hearing about China. But
yeah.
like Ronnie's saying, it's not Chinese that are on the Senate, that are in the House of Representatives,
Own the banks.
And
There's no CPAC doesn't stand for China, right? The C doesn't stand for China, right?
no.
Which are owned in China. And so the software running our systems is manufactured in China. President Trump, I say to his credit, last year his administration demanded and was very concerned that there are no domestic producers of the software that actually run our election systems. There's a couple.
Yeah, it's so easy for them to create a backdoor and to have those systems linked online. And then there was also like people that were able to, like, schools that were given the ability to hack the systems just to see what they could do, and they were completely able to fix it. They just inserted a chip and ran their code, and good enough, right? It worked. They swung the election. They did a bunch of different tests like that.
Wait, and here's another crazy thing. He's talking about domestic sources of software. So, like, the way he's spinning it is the software is manufactured in China. Like the same code couldn't be sent to any computer from any computer anywhere in the world. See, that's the thing about software. Once you have a program in a language that the computer understands, you just send it to the computer. So yeah, if you're saying that this software has to be on a certain type of chip, and that chip is only produced in China, then yeah, you've limited yourself to it can only come from China. But if it's just software, it can come from anywhere in the world. That's just crazy talk.
Exhibits 1 and 8 are statements by one of the personal security details of President Chavez, Hugo Chavez of Venezuela, who talks about how the Dominion software was originated, produced, and used to manipulate Venezuelan elections. Exhibit 8 is the chair of the National Electoral Council in Venezuela, who was dismissed by the Chavez regime. Exhibit 18 is our own from our own FBI and CISA, the Cybersecurity Authority of the federal government, issued in October 30th, about the threats from Iranian advanced persistent threats, and it concludes that, in fact, Iranians were, in fact, able to access voter data records in at least one state. It doesn't go unnamed. Exhibit 11, the state of Texas examined and refused to allow use of the Dominion software. Exhibit 5, you only have one sheet. That's a very, very long publicly available document from WEC. I simply put that in there to document that, in fact, virtually every of these over 1,800 municipalities in the state of Wisconsin, decentralized as they may be, use software from one of these three foreign-owned companies. Exhibit 12 is, we call it the Spider Affidavit, not because the individual is Spider, but because Spiderfoot and Robetex were the digital forensic tools he used, among others, to create the exhibit.
Why is this guy so shaky?
I'd direct your attention to page 15. It talks about these local protocols, what the software does at the aggregation level, that at that point in time, that's where the foreign interference can come. Exhibit 13, this is particularly troubling to me, if in fact it's true. Again, I can't possibly know. I wasn't there watching real-time returns. But if you look at beginning at page 13, he has a couple exhibits fixing the vote. In particular, you will note that this spike occurred not just in Wisconsin, but simultaneously in Michigan and Georgia and maybe one other jurisdiction. But when similar spikes occur in these of Biden votes occur almost simultaneously in these other jurisdictions, that raises my level of curiosity.
And guess what time the huge spike came at, everybody? Does everyone in the chat, maybe someone in the chat will know when the most satanic time of the 24-hour clock is? Jason, don't give it away. Let's see if anybody in the chat can come up with this time. So, that's enough evidence for me. If someone could show me the data, if they were allowed to actually check these machines, and all of a sudden, at a certain time in the night, if all the machines just all of a sudden Biden got 2 million votes in each county or state, and we won at 51-49, right? That to me is clear-cut evidence that the machines that were made by people that didn't live in the United States, right, and the software that was created by Chinese people were set up to, fix it. They've probably always been fixing it. I don't know why anyone would think that Trump somehow won the election either. They must have fixed it for him, right? Jason?
Yeah. So we've seen that the left-right paradigm is a false dichotomy all along. The cheating, it's always been cheating. It's when would they have not have cheated? So this country was set up by Freemasons and Jesuits and people like that. Like, look at all the early presidents. Look at George Washington. I mean, this country was set up by those people. It's not like this hasn't been going on all along. Mm-hmm. It's just worse now because it's like
but so you get it. So okay, yep, boom, D-Truth wins. Yahweh's daughter was close. So was Muzzled Unicorn. They guessed 3:30, 3:33. The answer was 3 a.m. That's when Biden had his big spikes. And it's crazy that it happened in multiple counties, multiple states. Like, I don't know, man. it makes me a little sick to my stomach that I'm a fair guy. When I don't put in my effort, I feel the guilt that I didn't do the best that I could. So should everyone else. Like, we need to live in a just reality where people are righteous and they do things because they're good people, not because they want to buy something or they're, just to digress a little bit off topic, talking about the ego. Hey, Kimberly just showed up. Talking about the ego, basically, whenever you're out in the reality here, ladies and gentlemen and friends, realize that, you're just given options. And when you see these types of options come into your life, try not to have any emotional response to the option, because a lot of the choices that are thrown at us are set up to actually cause a reaction from us. And if you just simply remove yourself from that reactionary spot and just look at things as non-egotistically, just for what they are, we can get through all this nonsense that they're putting under us. We can clearly see the evidence that's in front of us. We don't have to add any right versus left. I don't know if you want to add into that, Jason, at all.
No, we can keep going.
All right.
And skepticism. And consequently, again, the Elections Commission can't possibly know what actually happened real time. And I can't go into it, but we'll try to, Exhibit 14, for example, on page 1, that's the Windows Pro, the COTS problem. They can't possibly know what happened in real time. And you'll see in some of these exhibits, we'll try to follow it up with our letter, that these software programs designed by ESS were in fact designed under the guise of anonymity to make it impossible to put real-time stamps, real live stream time stamps on the ballots that as they come in.
Oh,
so
didn't he just talk dirty? This guy
real live timestamps. Wow.
That's how you do it legally. I mean, righteously. What do we talk about the most on this channel? Timestamps. Sometimes me and Jason, probably 100 times, if not more, things haven't been great, but we knew, hey, we got to get a timestamp on this. We got to show the truth that we were fighting for it, right? That's what a timestamp is. Your efforts, you've now created that. So the fact that he just went from everything that he was talking about, he was like, boom, live stream timestamping. What a thought, right?
That's what it's all about. So with ballots, you would think that the only way you would ever proceed with any election is that every single vote was time-stamped and documented in a way that was verifiable and unmanipulatable. It's just common sense.
Right?
There's no way in the software to document when a ballot was actually cast. And that's all in the name of anonymity, which, by the way, you'll see some criticism of us in the district court that we produce all these anonymous affidavits. Actually, we moved the court so that the court would be aware of who these individuals were. We asked for a motion under seal to allow the court to see the identities, to be able to vet these individual witnesses. The state, as they should have, they're being aggressive litigators. I don't fault them, but they opposed our motion to disclose the identities of these individuals to the court, then turned around and argued that our case should be dismissed because we relied on anonymous witnesses. That's what happened.
Mr. Dean, your time is up.
I'm out.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for testifying.
He's out, ladies and gentlemen, just like that. So what are y'all's thoughts? What's your thoughts, Jason? What are you feeling? Are you there?
Just got back.
Oh yeah. Okay, basically, they just let him off the hook. He's out. He's done with everything that they wanted, right? So, that's some of the evidence that they have. It's an interesting the whole Chinese thing as well. I know that Alex Jones was really ramping up that the Chinese were coming to kill us, right? I'm going to put that link in the chat in case anybody else wants that. They want to watch the entire thing. There's much more going on in that as well. What's your overall feelings, Jay?
Let's see. It's hard to even pay attention to the mainstream story of what's taking place because it's so nonsensical. Like, it hurts to think that there are people that are listening to it that believe it.
Yeah.
That's scary to me. So I don't know. This isn't one of the topics that I just sort of let my mind slip on it because it's like, it's so dumb. Politics in general is the way I've been. I've known that I've had to pay attention to, what's going on with Trump and Obama and Clintons and stuff like that. But it's definitely not the type of stuff I like to think about or talk about. I would rather be talking about more of the, the shape of the realm and the nature of the reality and who created it. But politics is one of those things that's going to be playing a big part in the end times, because these rulers are they're the ones that are going to be held responsible, and then the judgments are going to be cast against them. And from one of these characters, we're going to have an antichrist. So we sort of got to stay in the know. So.
Yeah, we should document, timestamp the fact that the machines that were used for the voting were all, out of country places that you can't investigate, and the software was from supposedly China. One other thing too, I'm pretty sure that the Chinese bank, the Bank of China, is literally in Trump Tower. Just so people know, if they don't know about that, as well as Trump being a bought and paid for Rothschild shill, Wilbur Ross, completely took him out of debt, and the Trump name is far too big of a franchise to lose, right? So yeah, we don't know if we'll be live again. We don't know if the end of the world could happen, but we do know that we care about the truth, and we care about each and every one of you for hanging out with us. If you got anything from this stream, please hit a like or leave a comment below. Share your feelings with us or the world. Let everybody see what you think. This is a small but really special group that we have here. And I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for this opportunity to go through this, even though it might be nonsense. I thought it was funny to listen about the poop emoji bracelets, the dead people voting, the voting machines that were created in other countries that can't be investigated because they come from shadow hedge fund companies, corporations. Let's just take it with a smile. Be poetic, be inspired, and please join us again, brother, and all of you, sisters. Bye.
Go Team Yahushai.